It wasn't enough that I didn't have the microphone in front of my face. I also forgot to unmute it. That's double amateur hour, man. I've been at this for a year. I still fucking do that. God damn it. You know what? I should just macro these buttons together. That's what I should do. I should macro it so that when I press the console button and it takes me out of the starting soon screen, it should just like unmute my microphone, because otherwise I'm an idiot and I forget. Anyway, hi everybody. I'm very excited to get back to Ace Attorney. It's been a long while. I'm very excited. I've missed this game a lot. Boy howdy, I hope I remember what the fuck was happening. Let us resume proceedings. Right, it's been 2 weeks. Let me see if I... Oh, it's not capturing, is that it? Oh, that's even better. Ooh, cool. Hang on. It should capture, I think. Hopefully. Hold on. Give it a second. Hello? There it is. Okay. Takes a second. It takes a little while. It's slow. Oh boy. Starting off with some real nice stuff today. Okay, so it's slowly coming back to me here. Let me see if I can remember what happened here. So, the pawn shop man, hang on, if I let me go to the court record real quick. So the pawn shop man, who is, Pop Windbank, was shot in his store, in the storeroom, in the back warehouse, right? He was shot in the back, and, he died. He was shot with a single bullet, and you know, he's dead. And then our friend, Gina Lestrade, was found collapsed in that room holding the gun that killed him. Let's see, also, these two were breaking into the shop at the same time. Nash Skulkin and Ringo Skulkin. They're professional baddies, apparently. They were breaking in, and they had a gun. And, let's see, we recently had a bit of a breakthrough with, okay, let's see. This guy, we don't know who this guy is. He was there, and, oh, right. He was in, oh, what was his name? The Irishman, the evil Irishman, whose name I can't remember anymore. The capitalist dude with the top hat. You know what? Maybe this will give me a little bit of a recap and I can start to remember. Because the other thing that was important was, oh god. Oh, I'm gonna be real lost. The pawnbroker's ticket. Mr. Windbank, the blood on his NFN is Mr. Mason's. Right, McGilded, right. Notes collected by Mr. Sato about the McGilded case that we worked on 2 months ago. Right, I remember this. Found deceased after the last scheduled omnibus today, step up to the admin. Right. McGilded killed this Mason Milverton dude, this brickmaker, and we got him off, and you know, he was he may have been actually guilty, which is a shame. Okay. We're just gonna write the Skulkin brothers gun. Firearms found in the possession of the Skulkin brothers upon their arrest. There are signs that a single round was fired and belonging to the victim, Mr. Windbank, that Gina was holding when she was found unconscious. There are signs of a single discharge. Photograph taken of, right. So the stack of books was slightly moved, it would appear, right? Like all that stuff on the table was moved just slightly, and we're suspicious about that. I think that's everything.
I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination.
I forget the voices I gave for these guys. I think it was like Waluigi and Wario. I think, Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov, I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Caw! Blimey. This is gonna be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windibanks. Well, it was bedlam soon as, weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me tooks out me Lucy lockets. However, that was a lie. You brothers. Caw, blimey. On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort. How'd you figure that out?
You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question. And this time, you will tell the truth.
Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov. We hear ya. We'll blab. We'll squeak. We'll peach. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see, made us both jump, and all that stuff went flying. Lummy, it didn't have give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered straight into him in the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker. See? We never even had a chance, did we? Appropriate, we get Van Zykes back for the new emote. Yeah, really? I'm so glad we have the smug emote now. I'm very happy. There's two more that I have, like, I already have like all 5 commissioned. I should commission some more for like bit rewards and for tier 2, and eventually there's going to be like follower emotes and stuff. I'm debating between whether the next one's going to be the heart or the loot. There's one where it's me and I'm carrying a bag of loot, and it's supposed to be like that's the one that's supposed to be used for the raids, right? Starborn, hello, how's it going?
So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windibank's countertop on the night in question.
Not ransack, Governor, no.
That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up. Yeah. Sorry.
By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all.
We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't you make us sound a bit more cutthroat?
Can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Windibanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Go figure, Shy is the first one to thirst after Van Zykes and his boot. Got my carbs to get me through the week. I'm vibing. Ooh, what kind of carbs? Let's see. Let's see here. You heard the gunshot scene, made us both jump, and all that stuff went flying. It didn't have give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter would come out the door and get us next. Stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered. Where's that? I want to hear more about that. Yeah, the cheek wobble is good. Where's Mabel? Mabel will come along if she has the time. You know. Mabel's busy, you know? And as someone who sometimes like just doesn't go to streams of people that I like watching, sometimes it's like streaming takes like social energy sometimes, man. Like sometimes I just want to watch YouTube videos. I don't know. It's a different vibe, you know? And yes, the cheek wobble is very good. This is the second character to have wobbly cheeks. Not including my own, of course. Sorry, what? Anyway. Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Hurlock Sholmes. We was a bit hasty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand.
Good advice, miss. Good advice.
Truth be told, me mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note made, miss.
After that, we legged it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or summat, so they clapped the darbies on us like winking.
And after you'd been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct?
Well, yeah.
But listen, that proves it, doesn't it, eh?
Hold it!
I don't believe this bit, like at all. And why should we believe that? What? Well, 'cause it's true, isn't it?
The place was totally empty when we went in.
At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windibank. Correct.
You got it, mister.
Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windibank? Is that really true, I wonder? That's it? That's the full extent of their testimony. What is it, Runo? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. I don't think that was the voice I gave Iris originally. Something, it don't feel right in my throat. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh. I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something. Something important. Something more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take it all in, and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you describe. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Yeah, 3D Alistair needs a cheek wobble redeem. Ah, Jesus. And the plot twist will, of course, be that it's my face cheeks.
Hold it!
Press that a little bit more. Hang on. If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we?
We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good.
Well said, Ringo, me old China. We'd only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact, now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourselves in even more trouble. Ah, well,
that's rotten luck.
Says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing.
Right, Nash, right. More like we tidied the place up. sorry.
Hold it!
So what you're saying is... the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much you knocked all of those things off the counter. Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. It was loud, all right. Blimey, me and me dead granny would have woken up at that bang. Big bruv here screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. It got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked over them scales on the floor. You've really mastered working quietly then. What a racket! Me granny would have been scared back into her grave at a clatter like that. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some! Me too was quiet as a mouse, and then all of a sudden, BAM! Oh, he's munching that fish.
Excuse me!
You got something to say there? What's up? Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. No, something to add about their testimony. You seem to react just now to what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind? As you know, we brought these fellows into the yard for questioning last night, and the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Ed, did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, God, might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still, I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas?
If I discovered the witness's testimony had been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be...
Sloppy?
I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them.
Easy, easy.
We'll get it right this time.
That's it. Yep, it's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs.
Right you are, Gov. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Gimme that gun!"
Hold it!
Oh, okay. So, in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously.
We did, Gov, we did.
Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yelling all.
If you don't want to get shot,
gimme that gun. Bam! Kind of thing. Career in acting tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell?
Of course we could. From the other side of that door behind the counter it was.
In the storeroom where the victim was found dead. The voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windibank.
On me granny's life. Course it was.
On his granny's life. Course it was. So that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windibank and the sound of his voice. So that would mean what? What, Nash, what? Any ideas?
Yes, Counsel, indeed it would.
Nah. We didn't know the geezer. How am I supposed to deny it when that bloke in all the fancy clobbers giving us the evil eye? If you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. On me granny's life, it is. On his granny's life, it must be. It's a good job his granny's dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them over the floor shop. On the shop floor. You make it sound like we're clumsy. Don't forget we tied it up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it. Ooh! Hello? What? Huh? Excuse me? You're saying that Mr. Windibank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, but that was a sight, eh? Two of them waving them guns at each other must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before he shouted out, we heard the geezer say, "If you don't want to get shot." Didn't really sound like he meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Windibank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping. He'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone being himself, of course.
Good grief! Extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided.
Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only, the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goose proper. Bet he wished he'd squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun." And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot. It was more or less at the same time, Gov. Give me that gun! Bam. Kind of thing. Yes. Career in acting very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck before everything went dead quiet. After that, we done a slapdash job tidying the place up. Fascinating. Now this is alarming. Let me see here. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to present, right?
Objection!
No? Because, like, he wasn't holding a gun. As far as we know, anyway.
Hold it!
Wait, I didn't mean to press that shit. Whoop. Anyway. So he was holding a gun. That's not right at all. He wasn't holding a gun. The only gun that we found back there was the one in Gina's hands. So, how the hell did he get shot? Alright, let me see here. There's gotta be something to present at this point, right? Has to be, has to be. Yeah, because she's holding the gun. He doesn't have one, and that is his gun. So maybe it's this one?
Objection!
There we go. That's it. You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You got the picture. He has, Nash, he has. No question. And yet the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not in possession of a firearm of any description.
Objection!
You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more?
Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken on a suitably short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronology is severely lacking, Counsel.
Yeah, that's right.
Too right, Nash, too right. The old geezer could have been about to turn the tables on the girl, eh?
Hardly likely.
No, I'm afraid this won't stand as conclusive evidence.
Ugh.
Continue with the cross-examination, Counsel, and heed my earlier warning, witnesses.
A skulkin's never skulkin'. So that's not it? Well, what the fuck? What, What else could it be then? Right? So confused. This is a little bit of a stumper. Let me see here. It has been identified as Mr. Mason's. Very, very confusing. So that was green. Right. That was Mason's blood on this ticket. Windibank there. Okay. Newspaper which contains an article about government agencies. This is just difficult. Well, this one doesn't show him holding a gun. Can we present this? I don't know if this is right.
Objection!
Oh, it is. Okay, that works. So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture.
Yes, Nash, yes, no question.
And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description.
Eh, you what?
Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection!
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. I still love that he is on a box. Yeah, that Multuller used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bam! Kind of thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are. Right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you've so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out.
Goodness, are you sure, Counsel?
You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Let me see. Where's that autopsy report, eh? Single bullet wound from the back. Let's see. Single bullet wound in upper half of victim's back. No other visible signs of trauma. Okie dokie.
Take that!
That'd be this. According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of, "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot.
Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe.
Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. Ah. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Yeah! Gah! Oh, it better not be an updated, autopsy report. I'll be upset. But it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. When he was shot that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windibank holding a gun. Somewhat like that might have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash, Nya! Gah!
Order! 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 Witnesses, explain yourselves at once.
Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you.
Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies?
Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we, Cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us. He? What are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bruv, come on, the game's up.
But he'll have our guts for garters.
In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out.
On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place.
Well, do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Ooh. Yeah, come on, spill it, boys!
Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug.
Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it.
For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter.
I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through the door to the back room.
We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear.
So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop? Well, yeah. Sorry.
Well, we find ourselves in an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably.
But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide.
Very well. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Alright, let's tear him down. The geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like...
Hold it!
Did you have your gun pulled on him? You mentioned that Mr. Windibank shouted those words in your previous testimony too. However, you claimed that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim, Mr. Windibank, wielding a gun at the time?
Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel he had pointed straight at me
frontispiece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windibank with a gun at that time, is that right?
It is, Gov, it is. Spot on.
Then all of a sudden, he came at us, he did.
It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who.
You were clearly all going for each other.
Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it. I mean...
Hold it!
Shucked him over the counter, Jesus. Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony, too.
Well, yeah, of course we did.
He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot.
I got tangled in some marionette, but knocked over a picture frame, what knocked over them scales on the floor.
So, in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter.
Well, a big brav here went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I can tell ya. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds.
At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There is a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windibank. He did everything he could to protect his shop. Gun on him, and then he legged it through the door.
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windibank? Nah, never. I was just, you know... looking out for me bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes. And then, the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran through that door and shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windibank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him, with a gun. Ah, yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windibank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windibank's hands again? I have no idea. That is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and Bravier...
That's right, Nash, that's right, me and Bravier...
Let me go back real quick. I'm gonna go back to the... Yeah, let me press this one real quick. I didn't press this one. When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windibank.
Who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right.
We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom.
Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been.
So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windibank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What? That mole tour? Couldn't tell ya. No way, Kabir. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it.
Hold it!
These two had to be the ones that shot him, right? Like, shot him in the back or something, right? You say you had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was, from the inside. We know it was because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused Miss Gina Lestrade.
It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, Counsel?
I don't know. Is there anyone else apart from Gina who could have possibly shot Mr. Windibank? Yes, obviously. There was a little fucking like a peephole you could have shot through. I've been saying this from the start. Eh, what? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did? What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Windibank, and it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be?
Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums.
Two, my lord?
Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time?
Understood, my lord. Are you alright, Runo? Not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened. It would change Gina's prospects hugely. Let me just, real quick here. Bop, bop. Because my current working theory is that he was shot through the peephole. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. And from, like, right here.
Take that!
The defense believes the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time? It would have been inside the storeroom, right here.
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windibank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired?
So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom?
Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through the door in the back room. If Mr. Windibank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time.
Ah.
It was at precisely that moment, when the victim was fleeing for his life, that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, his report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course! He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. Who's the vampire-looking dude? He's handsome as hell? He is. That's a Barak von Zykes. He's the prosecutor. And, yes, everybody loves him. Hello, Zeal. How are you doing? Hope you're having a good one.
Objection!
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? But, what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so?
Very well then, Counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from the outside the storeroom. In which case, who shot and locked the storeroom door from the inside?
Take that!
That would be Gina. Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room. For what possible reason? To protect herself, obviously. A man was just shot. She was barricading the door to protect herself. You goddamn dickhead. Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck.
I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, Counsel?
What? A tricky one? What? It's not tricky at all. You're standing in the storeroom. You see a man get shot and fall dead. You slam the door shut and lock it so that the gunman can't fucking get you. What? How is that difficult? Excuse me. Apparently that's a difficult one. Apparently that's a that's a tricky one. Having a good day. Force breaks and tablet cable exploded. What do you mean it exploded, Zeal? What? How does a tablet cable explode? That sounds like a pretty poorly engineered cable. I would be worried about that.
Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, Counsel. Remember that, please.
Of course Jenny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does? Why is the 10-year-old the voice of reason here? Well, if I was Jenny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh, yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windibank were in the storeroom together. Whoa, no shit. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windibank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windibank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is what would the defendant have done in that moment? Ah, I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windibank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it in order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But we ain't the ones who done it.
We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You got to believe us. Come on. We'd never shoot no one.
Objection!
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would, because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windibank's murder. Yeah! Go! Where does this leave us? You mean to say, it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker at all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as a dense forest. That was amazing, Runo! It just kind of removed its own cover and started fraying on its own. Oh. Good lord. Wacom is a joke. Woi. Gotta love the cable insulators that just peel off for no reason. I had a pair of headphones like that at one point. It was a really cool looking pair of Skull Candies. My first pair of Skull Candies, actually. My first, like, decent headphones. Skull Candies aren't very expensive. They're like $15, but like they're pretty decent quality for the price. Better than like the standard, like, you know, Apple earbuds, I think. But I had this really cool pair of Skull Candies when I was a little kid, and it was a clear insulator, so you could see the, like, silvery like cable underneath. It was like a braided cable sort of deal. And so you could see inside. Unfortunately, the way they made that insulator wasn't very sturdy, and it started, like, peeling away from the base at one side, like where you plugged it into your phone. Started peeling away there. It just, like, kind of wore away and then just sort of, like, broke, like, in a circle around there, and it just started peeling back. And then the cable started to fray as well, and then before you know it, they just stopped working in one ear. Most of my headsets are Corsair and earbuds are JBL. More expensive here, but it's worth the price. My headset is what headset is this? Is a Razer? Yeah, this is a Razer. Which has been pretty good to me, honestly. The insulation hasn't broken, but some of the internal insulation goop has started to leak out. It's there's this, like, green goop around, like, where it connects to the actual ear, like the big, like, headset itself. That green goop, from what I have read online, is apparently part of the insulation, or something like that. Some sort of like silicone gel or something. I don't know. But yes, the headset leaks a little bit of slime from the wire. It's very strange. But you know, these headphones have lasted me a long time, longer than the last pair of Razer headphones I had, which they lasted like a little over a year, because here's the fun thing. This is like the upgraded version of the old pair that I had that broke. The old pair broke because the band that goes over your head was made of plastic. After, you know, flexing to, like, you know, be put on top of my head over and over for a year, the plastic got worn out and snapped. Like, if you're making headphones, don't make the band that goes over your head that's going to be flexing over and over a lot out of a cheap material. I went to put them on, I heard a crack, and then they just sort of, like, fell limply around my head. I couldn't wear them anymore after that. I think, what did I do? I think I had to, like, like wrap a bunch of tape around them to get them back into shape for like the couple days it took me to get a new pair. Thankfully, by that time, you know, the pair that I have now, the headband's made of metal, so it's hopefully not gonna snap. I would pray, as long as it doesn't like rust underneath the padding where I can't see it. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know, first time ever, and probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing?
You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zykes? I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive.
I dare say, such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatant, malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly, credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing?
I say, Lord Van Zykes, might be an idea to explain this bollock conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground,
The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Stop doing that. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By George, count bullets? Oh dear. You noticed then. Huh? What's everyone talking about? Yeah, that would be 3 shots total, wouldn't it? 1 bullet. It would be 2 bullets fired from the gun that the Skulkin brothers had, which is apparently there's only evidence of 1 bullet being fired. Yeah, he do the foot. It's currently happening to your headset, not an instant snapping, but they're starting to crack with the flexing and being held together, the padding underneath the plastic. Yeah, so you're gonna want a new pair of headphones real soon before they crack completely. And yep, Avina, he does that a lot. He throws it, he crushes it in his hand, he chucks the glass at the candles, and sometimes he takes the entire bottle of wine and just chucks it into the gallery. Probably injuring people. Counsel. Yes, sir. Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. 2 bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Hurlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene.
Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appeared to have passed through his body to strike the calendar.
Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Winterbank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun.
Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each.
Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Hurlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find.
But if the single bullet was fired from the brother's gun at Mr. Sholmes, it means...
Winterbank was not shot by same gun. Stop. Only 1 bullet. Stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Yeah, I love Van Zyke so much. He's great.
Order! Order! Order!
I told you! I told you! Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hallowed nectar into the public gallery, likely injuring at least 3 people as the glass strikes their sensitive craniums and the glass shards embed themselves in their faces. I am guilty of at least 50 counts of assault today alone. And 10 attempted arsons.
Look, Lord Van Zykes!
But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilded's down to the yard. Thank you very much. No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is, mine. I'm sorry, miss. Anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. Yes, that music box disc. McGilded's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windibank, the accused attempt to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her. And with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence.
Good gracious!
Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril.
I see.
Oh yeah, the detective is constantly eating fish and chips, just non-stop. Final case is gonna be the case of who killed Van Zykes. It's gonna be the janitor who cleans all his messes. You're not wrong.
I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, Counsel. It's a grim testament to the defendant's character.
Oh my god. What a desperate hold it. That caught me off guard. Lord Van Zykes, Inspector Gregson. What? Yes, Inspector. We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed that that disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he said anything to Van Zykes at all. I am unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord.
Indeed, bailiff.
Music box disc has been... Whoa. The prosecution has established the accused motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. Baseness? Is he saying Gina is based? Is that what I'm given to understand here? There is nothing more to add. That bow. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. You can't yeet me. I'm too powerful. Besides, I wouldn't fit through the windows. My hips are too wide. Anyway. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all of 5 minutes. Oh dear. It wasn't even for 5 minutes, Runo. My lord.
Wonder if I might say something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman.
Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up to now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden, the answer's bully obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Oh no.
Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Alright, time to sway the jury again. I'm actually wanting to draw that. It's the first time I saw your whole mouth, I wasn't expecting you to be this thick. Yeah, the top kind of belies the, you know, all of this. You don't really expect it. It's a fun little surprise, you see.
We have a consensus among the jury, it seems.
When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. That's right. That's originally Sherlock Holmes's line. It's a Bartlett pear. My God. Oh, how dare he use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windibank. That's beyond any doubt.
Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready?
Gundam Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir.
Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty.
Alright, let's see here. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need to be a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was that pickpocket.
I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief.
The accused attempted a theft on the previous day. I can see I'm in for a busy day indeed.
I am ballistics expert. I've seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. Would seem there is little remaining room for doubt.
I have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. When that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. Whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris? That prosecutor's being mean. Just because Ginny's done some things she shouldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out, eventually.
That's enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination.
Yes, my lord. The defense's rebuttal. Alright. Different to us law-abiding citizens. Okay. Only 2 bullets were found at the scene. I would say the whole case is done and dusted. Alright, moving on. Now this, I want to hear more about. What makes this about an operation, sir? Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here.
Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it is nothing to do with this trial, to be honest.
Huh?
I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think?
I almost don't want to ask, but the surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on...
What was the fellow's name now? Hurlick? No. Hurlock? No. Hairlock!
Herlock Sholmes, by any chance?
Yes, good lord. It was that Hairlock fellow.
What? You're the surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes.
That's right. Using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major op, I can tell you.
This is crazy.
Let me see. The fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. He said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened it up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb. I couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fellow back up.
I hate to state the obvious, but
Yes?
surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting.
The counsel for the defense is correct, as is clearly shown in this photographic print. The bullet that the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region, then exited his body and lodged into the shop wall, where the calendar was hanging by the door.
I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem three-dimensionally.
Huh? Who do you think I am, son?
Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do.
As soon as I saw the wound to the man's stomach, I flipped him over.
Like a pancake? Are you saying that you checked his back?
Of course I did. There wasn't a trace of injury. No sign that a bullet had left the body at all.
What?
That's the point! The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards. Which is exactly why I set about slicing him up. I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can somebody please explain how it happened? Can somebody please solve the mystery?
It's almost as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. The mystery of where that bullet ended up is infuriating.
What's an expert where you need one?
An expert? This man claims to be an expert. Hello, please tell me more. I thought you were just a tourist. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. There's no way he's just a visiting tourist. So, you're a ballistics expert. Who knew? I have much experience with guns. Ah. I have lived through many, how do you say, extreme, violent bath of, blood of, extreme violent bloodbaths, perhaps? Those extreme violent bloodbaths. English is very difficult tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, I'm surprised you still have a tongue. Anyway, if you have questions about bullets and guns, you ask me. There is nothing I do not know, no mystery I cannot solve. He's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that's for sure. But, if possible, please, only in the Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No? Still, we should bear it in mind. He's our man if there's a mystery about guns or bullets. Van Sykes has managed to convince everyone. We have eliminated the impossible, he said, but he hasn't. We're going to fight back. We need more material. We have to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. All right, I know what to do. We pit this fellow against this fellow. Those two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other.
Oh, a ballistics expert.
Pitting. P-I-T-T. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. But since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Villain. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction in the facts is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night. There was blizzard. I was running away along mountain road in freezing cold.
Golly.
The snow was piling high on both sides of road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in snow. And the situation was very similar to what I heard today from doctor. We could not find bullet in my body and no sign of, how do you say, exit wound.
Then where did the bullet go?
Bullet never hit me.
Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down?
Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wound.
Good gracious!
Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me. And that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet. I don't think that applies to this one. I don't think there was no ice around there. Well, actually, no, it is winter, isn't it? There could have been ice, but I don't think that's it.
But that doesn't answer the question at all. The shooting happened in a pawnbroker's shop, not some snowy mountain road in another country.
Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here. I don't know. Where exactly was Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach. Sort of around this area, I think. Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt. A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. It's where he keeps the 3 glass vials of very dangerous chemicals that he uses in his investigations. What? Really? Doctor, where's the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing?
Well, fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember.
If I may. Lord Van Sykes? What? Uh-oh. How's the internet? We losing frames? Are we all live? We're okay? We good? Okay, because Steam just popped up to tell me, hey, sorry, we can't reach your friends right now because you're offline. Which, I mean, thankfully you guys didn't see the pop-up, but I saw it, and for a moment I thought, oh no, I've disconnected entirely. Looks like we're fine, though. Is stream dying right now? Oh, is it? Hang on. Wait, can you hear me? Look as good as ever. Okay. Because I do see, I see some dropped frames. I think, oh, Steam is dying right now. Okay. I was like, stream is dying. What? OBS isn't telling me it's dying. It says I only dropped 333 frames. Yeah, Steam's just having a. I'm not stupid. I'm not. I'm a clever boy. Even though I remember distinctly saying I was dumb and stupid yesterday. Today I'm claiming I'm smart. So there. Yeah. Yeah. I'm smart. Lord Van Zykes? Well, I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination. I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry? As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound.
Oh, thank goodness! I thought I was getting forgetful for a moment.
Since then, it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence relating to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred.
Very well. Well, extremely unconventional during a summation examination. I must demand that the prosecution present the item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Sholmes' pouch. I see. This is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it?
Look at that! One of the files is broken and the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the file exploded.
Exploded?
So that night, the bullet from the Skulkin Brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch.
And it was the glass file exploding that caused the fellow's injury!
This bullet did not penetrate victim, but was deflected into wall of shop.
A delightfully complex aroma.
Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved at least.
Though it has no bearing on the truth of this case. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective, and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remain unaltered.
But at least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man.
Thank you very much. Glad I could help.
Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester this scruffy pouch as evidence.
Hurley's pouch isn't scruffy.
Now, the summation examination. It would appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion,
Please, my lord, just a little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. It could be a valuable clue, and you can't afford to overlook anything here, Ryunosuke. There's still a way to turn this around, somehow. I'm sure of it. Seal. He's so pretentiously classy. I want to punch his face with my mouth. I love that. That is an excellent quote. That is beautiful. Let me see here. Okay. Actually, let me examine this real quick. I don't think I got a chance to examine this. Oh, I should be able to maybe examine this blood. Oh, Runo, look! This is blood! Yes, you're right. Just a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Haha! It's my time to shine again. I thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with the disc, Runo. Let me get this done quickly, Iris. In a flash. Green! The mystery person's blood. Ooh, lovely bright shade again. Wait, that color? What is it? It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? Whoop, that's not what I meant to do. For McGilded. That's the man you defended in court a couple of months ago, isn't it, Runo? Yes, or rather, mistakenly defended. I wonder what his name is doing on the back of this disc. That's a question I'd love to know the answer to myself. Alright, let me investigate this as well. Oh ho! The bullet wasn't deflected at all! It's right there! It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken, look! This must be where the bullet hit then. Let me see. Oh, that sure does appear to be a bullet embedded in the thing! What the? Iris, look! Behind where the broken file was, do you see it? Ah! That's the Skulkin Brothers' bullet! What a stroke of luck that it hit his pouch! This is an amazing discovery! What this means is, there were 3 bullets fired at Windibanks that night. We found exactly what that juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet! It's time to press that juror again, I think. Excellent. Beautiful. This is the bullet that was fired from the Skulkin Brothers' gun on the night of the incident. Yes. So it turns out it never actually entered Hurley's body at all. Thanks to the thick leather of that pouch he was wearing, it saved him. Hurley's always lucky like that. Well, considering what he had to go through in the hospital, I wonder how lucky he really was. Oh dear, poor Hurley. Alright, we got press him again. Then I ask you to reconsider your leaning, sir.
Oh no, that's another matter entirely.
Sorry?
All I can think about for the moment is this wonderful sense of relief I have that the mystery is solved. I need some time to let that sink in before I could possibly consider anything else.
Alright. I thought surgeons had to be able to think quickly. Perhaps we should leave him alone for now while he savors his inner peace. And focus on some of the other jurors? I suppose we'll have to. Wish I had the chance to experience inner peace sometimes. Let me see here. So it'd be time to press this one, right?
Hold it!
I mean, to be fair, you're not wrong, Zeal. That's a good point. and I don't know if it's McGilded's blood. The green blood could be McGilded, maybe. We don't actually know whose blood it is yet. Could be McGilded, maybe. Well, no, that wouldn't make sense. It couldn't be McGilded. It was, no, because the green blood showed up at the pawnbroker's shop. It was, like, right there. Someone who was at the pawnbroker has green blood. They're an alien. They're a lizardman. It's dangerous. Were there any government officials at the pawnbrokery that night? Oh, the back was signed McGilded. Yeah. Well, I mean, this whole case has been about McGilded. We already knew that there was a bunch of shit involving McGilded. Yeah, we were already aware that McGilded was tied up in all this somehow. People taking things out of the pawnbrokery that belonged to McGilded. It's the number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although, yes? Sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like the fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? Oh, I should get invited over. I want to visit her employer. Just invite me over. I'm a thief. I'm a great dinner guest. So I suppose, if there was another bullet somewhere of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. 3rd bullet somewhere on the scene. I can prove it! Allow me to show you then the 3rd bullet!
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question, Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired. What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes's pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes's waist before he was taken to hospital. And since then, it has been touched by no one.
Do you mean to say that the shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night?
Yes. As your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch.
But that makes no sense whatsoever. You already know the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It's clearly visible in this photographic print.
Ah! 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence.
Yes, that of Mr. Windibank and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers.
An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. Ah! But that must mean... That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. Ugh. Ugh.
Order! 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 While this summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which the case against the defendant has been built. As is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination.
By Jupiter! What?
Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to their stand at once.
Yeah, Van Zykes is the best. He's one of my favorite prosecutors so far, I think.
Witnesses,
Governor!
were you listening to the proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination?
We was, Governor, we was. Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble. Simply answer this one question. A 3rd bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov? I don't make nothing of... Is it one of yours?
Go blimey, Gov. Go blimey, not a chance.
In that case, did you have an accomplice? What? What? Never! The Skulkin brothers work alone. It's just the 2 of us. That's our trademark. How soon we forget poor Sulky. Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The 3rd bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Lummy, that's a head scratcher.
Counsel for the defense.
Yes?
I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The 3rd bullet, the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came.
Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this 3rd bullet tells us about the Skulkin brothers. They had a secret accomplice, yeah. Because they kept talking about, oh, if we blab, he's gonna have our guts for garters. On that night at Windibank's pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a 3rd man. The witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of this accomplice. But the evidence all points to the fact that there was someone else present. Someone carrying a gun.
Objection!
An accomplice, you say? Pig swill. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet in all that time, there has been not a murmur of a third man. If this apparently wraith-like being exists, the court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed, much like my holy chalice, of which I have dozens. Ugh. The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. Yep, crushing red wine glass with white gloves and not getting a drop on him. And secondly, the identity of this spurious character. Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding?
Well, Counsel,
I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice and reveal the person's identity even. In response to the prosecution's demand, my lord, the defense is... Let me just save real quick. It's just, yeah, real quick. Don't worry about that. Yeah, we really don't know who this third person is. Let me see here real quick. Let me check something. Let's see. Evidence that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime, and the identity. We can present the green blood, can't we? The defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers to that the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference.
in that case, Counsel, I would ask you to present evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you that there was a third intruder present at the scene?
That would be... the blood.
Take that!
The evidence is right here, in this portfolio.
By Jove, that portfolio again, is it?
Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific! You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of this third intruder. Well, which one is it?
Take that!
This one, the green blood.
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar.
And that's a blood stain, my lord.
A blood stain?
Green blood. Curious, even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? It's something developed by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. By the great detective! New invention. Stop. Not yet appeared in stories. Stop. It's this, you see? It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in people's blood to change its color.
Different elements of people's blood?
Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Ooh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom. Stop. Very exciting. Stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Windibank.
A striking blue.
Yes. So you see, the green color of this blood stain on the calendar shows us that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now hold fire there, young man. Could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windibank was killed. By golly! Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day.
Then whose blood is it?
Well, the Skulkin brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of somebody else. The third intruder.
Objection!
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder? Oh. That's, that would be, possibly, perhaps this man. Or, wait a minute. Wasn't he injured? Wasn't Eggert, like, injured when we spoke to him? Was he? It's been 2 weeks. It's been so long, I don't remember. I'm gonna save again real quick, hang on. I think it was Eggert. Cause he laid his hand on the disc and put the bloodstain on it, didn't he?
Take that!
The man's name is Eggert Benedict.
Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, Counsel?
Paid a visit to Windibank's pawnbroker on the afternoon before the incident took place. The accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. That's right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Eggert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. Broker.
Yes, sir.
I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no?
Yes.
The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel, and needless to say, any music box discs too. Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. Yes, egg. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc.
Can you corroborate this account, Inspector?
Yes, my lord. That's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Windibank for a print showing the fellow. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder Gubbinses. Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Winbank that morning.
And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice?
Well, Mr. and Mr. Well, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin? Whoop. Never seen the geezer before in me life.
On me life, Gov, on me life, never seen him. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion.
I'm sure your lordship recalls. Jesus, excuse me. Sorry about that. I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can. Then show us the evidence. I agree. We must see proof that the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start. Now, I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom.
Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, Counsel?
Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photographic print was in fact the person struck by the third bullet. Be this, wouldn't it? Or would it be... Let's see here. this, possibly?
Take that!
That proof is right here in this portfolio.
Good gracious, Counsel. Does that portfolio contain the answers to every question posed?
I see you share my interest in claret-colored liquids, my Nipponese friend, but... enough. The court demands to see further evidence. Which blood sample proves the man you identified was the one shot by the third bullet at the scene of the crime? By this one, right here. As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windibanks.
Which is when the aforementioned Eggert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no?
That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. I was following this that a minor incident occurred. It was following this that a minor incident occurred.
But of course, sir. Here is the disc for you.
Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute. That disc is mine. Ugh! What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Being a music box disc, it contains countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions cause Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed, and the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now.
Goodness, a blood stain, is it?
My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom. Using my trusty fogger gun. Yes. And we added the results to this portfolio.
I say,
It's green.
it's exactly the...
It's exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Eggert Benedict, who was in Windibanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. So there was someone else there. Look at those two brothers now. They're sweating buckets. Oi, who are you talking about? It's boiling in here. My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Eggert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify.
It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection!
This has gone on long enough now. This flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Herlock Sholmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes. A god of detection or some such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court in the land. Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to you successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color. Well... There it is! Mabel, you showed up literally just in time! Mabel walking in, just like projected, summoned the boot-on desk. Hello, Mabel, how are you doing? We got it. We won. Game's over. Don't need more. And pray, do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it. Is he right? Is Mr. Sholmes No, I mean, he's a great detective. What are you talking about? We can't let him get away with that. I knew it would come to this. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice did I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. Ah, in other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it?
Good grief! What did you just say, young girl?
And in a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? Ugh. So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now. Yes, she's right.
Young lady, you have quite the devious mind.
It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Runo. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable! Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. Iris Wilson, sharpshooter.
After that shrewd precis of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion.
This is absurd.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings in this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will come to a fair and just conclusion. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Guilty.
Guilty!
Not guilty.
Aha! We got it! We've tipped the scales. Just barely.
Two called guilty and 4 called not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination.
Objection!
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision.
On what grounds?
Leg stomp, not guilty. I'm doing pretty well, Mabel. I'm doing pretty all right, thank you. If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt.
I'm sorry, Lord Van Zykes, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. This trial will continue.
Ugh. Ugh.
Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible.
What?
The name the gentleman gave for himself, Eggert Benedict, is quite clearly false.
I don't believe it. Just when I'd managed to prove the man was there that night. Could I say something?
Who was that, please? Who spoke?
It was me, my lord. Juror number 5?
What have you to say, madam?
If possible, Inspector. Me, ma'am? I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again. The one in which the gentleman is shown. Ah, right, yes. This one, you mean? Of Mr. Benedict. Yes, there's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5, you don't mean to say you know this man? Yes, I know him. What? No.
Good gracious!
How could his name not be Eggert? All right, huh? Van Zykes will fix it.
Order! 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 Juror number 5, how on earth?
I am a communications officer. Stop. As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is stop. Also a communications officer. Stop. He works in my office. Stop. Of all the fucking bullshit luck, dude. A very talented operator, in fact. Stop. He should be in the communication station now. Stop. Tapping away on the telegraph. Stop. This doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right. I suppose we all imagined the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong.
The gentleman is at London's communication station. We should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zykes, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
Make the necessary arrangements with all haste.
As your lordship bids.
The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson.
Yes, my lord.
I should like to hear from you specifically about the events at the pawnbrokery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess.
Yes, sir, my lord.
Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m.
All right, well, I guess that means it's going to be a 1 hour BRB. No, I'm just kidding. Kitsamani, hey, hello! Yeah, I mean, you joined, like, pretty much smack dab in the middle of the case, so understandable to be a little bit lost. Also, my nose is itching like crazy tonight. Holy crap. If you see my face doing weird things, or if you see, like, my mouth, like, opening and nothing, like, no sound being made, that's me, like, itching my nose. That's how the tracking fucks up when it can't see my mouth. Ugh. Yeah, Ace Attorney is just like that. Basically, this pawnbroker guy was killed in his shop, in a locked room, and, you know, at first we thought, oh, there's only 2 bullets fired, and then, there was, actually, it was 2 bullets, there's actually 3 bullets fired. We found the 3rd bullet, but the 2 guns that we found only showed signs of 1 bullet being fired, because they're revolvers. So, you know, it's really easy to see. And then, so there's a 3rd gun and an accomplice that we discovered. Just scratch your nose and look at the... Shia? Shia? Yeah, uh-huh. There we go. Okay. Moving on. Ah, Gina, how are you holding up? Starting to feel quite warmly towards her frequent cold shoulders now. Ginny! Are you alright? Why aren't you saying anything? What's the point, eh? Why got all this trouble and fight so hard for the likes of me? What? Oh, you saw it? That picture? What picture? Ah, you mean this? A photograph taken by Hurley's red-handed recorder. Well, I didn't think it would have captured a scene like this, that's for sure. It's hopeless. Anyone who sees that's gonna think I did it, ain't they? Well, I won't pretend it wasn't a bit of a shock when the prosecution first presented it to the court. Surely you gotta have your doubts about me now. You can't think I'm still innocent. Of course I can. Ginny, why don't you talk to us? Tell us what really happened that night. Eh? Minos cleverly managed to piece together a lot of new information, but still, we'd really like to hear it from you. Alright then. It was after we'd had dinner together at your place, right, Iris? Then we all had a chat up in your office, didn't we? Yes, I remember. After that, I just couldn't get to sleep. So I slipped out and went down the street to the 2-to-1, to Winterbank's place. I had to know. if Iris's story was there or not. The Hound of the Baskervilles. I don't know what it's about or nothing, but if you ask me, there's something in it that Shums don't like. Something what he don't want people reading. So that's why he lied to Iris about sticking it in lug with Winterbank for safekeeping. At least, that's what I thought at the time. So you broke into Winterbank's. I just had to know if it was there or not. I mean, I had no idea all that was going to kick off, did I? I struck the lock and snuck inside. It was dark as you like in there. So I gave the oil lamp on the counter a bit of wick. And that's when... What do you think you're doing? I nearly died, I did. And the next thing I knew... I'd grabbed the gun off the counter and was waving it in the air like... I don't know what.
You're the girl who was in here this afternoon. I didn't think pickpockets went in for armed robbery.
The mantle script. Have you got it here? Did Shums leave a load of papers with you? A story?
I beg your pardon?
The Hound of the something or other. If it's here, I want to see it.
I'm sorry, young lady. I'd sooner die than relinquish an article belonging to one of my customers.
I don't want it. What would I want? What would I do with it anyway? I just want to see its ear, that's all.
Oh, you want to see it, do you?
I want to know if Shums really pawned it here or not. Please, just let me see it and I'll go.
Oh, very well then. But for pity's sake, stop waving my gun around, would you?
So then the old cove unlocked the storeroom door, and we both went inside. And it was there all right, the mantle script. Shums weren't lying after all. You did all that just to check for me, Ginny. Anyway, then there was a bit of kick-up out in the main bit of the shop. The Skulkin brothers arriving on the scene, yes. What's that noise? Someone's breaking in.
Dear me, is there some burglars convention here tonight that I don't know about?
I think I forgot to shut the door behind me. Sorry.
I'd better go and take care of it. Could I possibly have my gun back?
Oh, well, I'll come with you and...
Now don't be foolish, young girl. You must stay right here. Don't leave this room under any circumstances.
And with that, he took the gun out of my hands. I walked back out into the shop. I hung back in the storeroom, like he said, straining my ears in the dark to hear what was going on. It sounded like they got into a bit of a scrap. I started to think I should help, see? So I was just about to go out the storeroom myself when... I heard a couple of shots go off. 2, I think. Almost at the same time. And then there he was, right at my feet, lying face down on the floor. I was right next to the storeroom door, so I slammed it shut and locked it quick as you like. Because you thought whoever shot Mr. Winterbank might come for you? Yeah. So I went to grab the old cove's gun. I figured I'd put up a fight at least. When I got a better look at him, I knew. Winterbank was a goner. He popped off. I felt funny in my head all of a sudden, kinda dizzy. And after that, I don't remember nothing. It must be when you passed out, Gina. If I hadn't done what I'd done, the old cove might still be alive. Did you tell the police everything you just told us? Of course I did. They didn't believe a word of it, did they? All they said was, if I kept telling lies, it'd make things even worse for me. It'll be alright, Ginny. Don't worry. Just stay strong a little longer. Bruno's about to put the real culprit through the mill. That cove what was there in the afternoon. That Agate Benedict. I still remember how he looked at me, like I was nothing. he was there that night. We don't know his real name yet, but I'm convinced that he's involved somehow. Anyway, thank you for telling us what happened, Gina. I appreciate your honesty. You what? You can leave it all in Runo's capable hands now, Ginny. Mr. Naruto. Yes? How come you trust me? I don't get it. I mean, have you forgotten what happened here before? Come on, it was only 2 months ago. Me and McGilded, we told you a whole pack of lies. And you got the bog trotter off with him, even though he was a killer. No, I could never forget that. Oh. I did what I thought was best at the time, but the pain of that error of judgment doesn't get any easier to bear. Still, don't forget that I also made you a promise. I told you that I'd be on your side to the bitter end, no matter what. But what if I'm lying? You could be working to get another kill off the hook for all you know. I was once in your position, Gina. I was the accused in the trial. You were? Before I left Japan, I was accused of murder. And as strange as it might sound, the circumstances of the crime were pretty damning. I was sure that no one would believe it wasn't me who'd done it. Oh, Runo. There was one person who stood up for me, who believed in me, and was prepared to defend me. My best friend. You know, Skate, no one believes in you more than I do. Leave this to me. All you need to do is put your faith in me, and I'll do the rest. I was so happy I cried. But even then, somewhere inside me, I couldn't help thinking, surely he doesn't really believe in me. Not completely. But I was wrong. As soon as my trial began, it was obvious that he had an absolute unwavering belief in me. And in turn, I developed an absolute unwavering belief in him. Since then, I came to realize, if you want someone to believe in you, you have to believe in the other person first. What are you saying? I promise you, Gina, that no matter what happens, I'll keep believing in you. So you don't need to worry. I won't let you down. Even though I'm a diver, and a no-good liar. You're not like McGilded. I know that. Eh? That's right. You're our friend, Ginny. Oh, Iris. We know you better than you think. We've come to the conclusion that you're someone we can trust. Yes. That's really all we need to know. Exactly. Mr. Naruto, Defendant Gina Lestrade and her legal representative. Court proceedings are about to resume. Please head into the courtroom immediately. Yes, of course. Thank you. Yeah, she's cute. Gina's great. Gina's a great character. I've been both a defendant and a defending lawyer in my time, so I knew only too well just how hard it was to put all your faith in another. And I also knew just how hard it was to bear the burden of another putting all their faith in you. This is it. This is it at last. The final chapter. The final battle. Wish me luck, Susato-san. I hope you're watching over me too, partner. The Old Bailey Courtroom. Let's go. Alright, Eggert, what's your real name,
I hereby call this court to order as we resume the trial of Miss Gina Lestrade. Lord Van Zykes, have you successfully subpoenaed the witness?
The subpoena was delivered to the communication station where the man works immediately, my lord. However, the heavy rain has... Pardon my hiccups, I'm gonna take a little sip of water here. I may have eaten my burger just a little too fast. However, the heavy rain has delayed the arrival of his carriage, it would seem.
I see. Let's turn our attention to Inspector Gregson's presses of the case heard by the court this morning. The glaring omission of the third bullet in your report is a serious blunder, Inspector.
Yes, I can only apologize, my lord.
And although the defense's chemical analysis of the blood at the scene makes for a compelling argument, I cannot permit such untried methods to be used as evidence in my courtroom.
It's a big mistake to cross Hurley and me. A very big mistake.
My lord. The subpoenaed witness has just arrived at the building.
Thank you, officer. Show him to the stand without delay.
Mr. Egbert Benedict. I didn't expect to be crossing paths with him again so soon, and certainly not like this. There he is. Mr. Zappelli himself.
Thank you for complying with the court subpoena at such a short notice, sir.
But of course, my lord. As an upstanding member of London society, it is my pleasure to oblige.
Now, kindly state your name and occupation for the record.
Ashley Graydon, communications officer.
Mr. Graydon and I both work at London Central Communications Station.
Now, perhaps somebody would kindly explain what all this is about. I see I'm not a dinosaur. I'm not a God damn it, add it to the list. Add it to the fucking list. What are we at now? We've got, what was it? We got cat, we got fox, we got rat, squirrel, scorpion, and now dinosaur? Is that the full list? Am I missing any? Please, let me know if I'm missing any right now. You were apprised of the situation by the court officer on your way here, I presume. Went full Susie with that hiccup? Oh, really? Yes, I was. Something to do with a murder that took place at a pawnbroker's on Baker Street. And some nonsense about me having been there on the night in question. That is the accusation, indeed. This really is beyond a joke, you know?
Very well. Without further delay, the court will hear your testimony now, Mr. Graydon. You will respond to the accusation made against you under oath.
Gladly, my lord, gladly. I'm not Barney. Naturally, I have occasion to make use of pawnbroking services from time to time. But are you seriously suggesting I colluded with these thugs to break into the place on the night of the murder? I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation, even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found in the scene. Some Scaramouche detective's homebrewed tincture can hardly be taken as serious evidence. My little... No, Mabel, I'm not a little meow meow. God damn it.
So, you deny the accusation completely, do you?
I must say I am dismayed. For the highest court in the land to be swayed by this self-professed detective's toy. It was the will of the jury, and our great British justice system demands that the jury's will is upheld. And then it would seem we have the misfortune of a most inept assembly of jurors today. By golly! How long am I expected to be detained here?
If, following the defense's cross-examination, your involvement in this matter has not been established, you will be free to leave immediately.
Good. Then I shall be away in time for afternoon tea. Some small consolation at least.
Let's not hold up Mr. Graydon any longer than necessary, Counsel. Proceed with the cross-examination.
So, we meet again, Mr. Eggert Benedict. Or is it Mr. Graydon? My apologies. You are... Ryunosuke Naruhodo, defense lawyer. We have met. If you say so. Ashley Graydon. Enchanté. So... Hey, thanks for the hat. I appreciate it. I'll just hold on to this now. It's a very nice hat. I trust we can conclude this quickly. But I'm not holding your flashy hat while we do. I'm gonna wear it. I hope it just pans over to Iris and Iris is just wearing the hat. Naturally, I have occasion to make use of pawnbroking services from time to time. Yep. Actually, let me press this. This is an interesting, one. Yes, we even met in the very pawnbrokery where the crime took place in the afternoon of the day in question. Though, of course, you introduced yourself by a different name at the time. Oh. It was Mr. Eggert Benedict, I believe. The witness is here to testify about events that took place that night. He is under no obligation to answer such unrelated questions. You can't be serious. Thank you, because I certainly do not feel inclined to answer such an inappropriate question. He was going to be evasive, is he? In an effort to not give anything away. This could be tricky.
Hold it!
I think we're not gonna break him. We're gonna break one of the thugs into inappropriate questions are banned? Oh no. Mabel in shambles. Yeah, we're not gonna crack Grayson here. We're gonna crack the thugs. The thugs are gonna like give it all away because they're stupid. Have you seen these two men before? This pair? No, I don't associate with criminals. Said by a man who introduced himself as Eggert Benedict. I'd like to know who I have to thank for this. Who made this outlandish accusation against me? The young lawyer there in the black. This is a farce. Whose idea was it to permit an outsider to work in a British court anyway? Well, needless to say... No intention, yeah.
Hold it!
Where were you at around 1 in the morning on the night in question, sir? That is past the hour at which I would normally retire. Certainly. I was not in the company of these rapscallions. You're able to prove that?
Objection!
Listen carefully, my learned Nipponese friend, for you appear to be under a gross misapprehension on this point. What do you mean? The witness maintains he was not at the scene of the crime. He has no obligation to prove his absence. If your accusation is that the witness was present at the scene, the obligation lies with you to prove your assertion. You will fulfill that obligation before putting any more unreasonable questions to the witness. A silent victory wiggle. Thanks.
Hold it!
Blood was found at the scene of the crime. There's no question of that. Mr. Sholmes' chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But am I not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? How can you be sure that the blood is mine? It could equally be the blood of one of these two Every individual's blood has a slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Sholmes' chemical is able to differentiate different blood samples by... Spare me the science lesson. Who's this Sholmes character, anyway? Oh, I assumed all Londoners would know the name. He's a great, well, a renowned detective. So even you are unable to bring yourself to say great detective. A great detective, you say? Now we're in the realm of fairy tales, are we?
Excuse me.
Hello? What do you have to say, friend? You have something to say about that, Mr. Skulkin? Eh, what? Me? No, the Mr. Skulkin next to you. Right, I've had it up to here with this. How many times have I gotta tell you? Yes, I know, you're not a big bruv Skulky. Mr. Nash Skulkin. Eh, God blimey, Governor. You what? Is it not the case that when Mr. Grayson just spoke, a thought went through your mind? Would you care to share that thought with the court? Eh, me thoughts. I don't have none of them. Must have been him. You what? It's like me. No thoughts. Head empty. Head has to be empty because that's where I store all my gold. Right? Let me... Wait, hang on. Wait. I can do this. Dumb joke, but I'm gonna make it. I don't give a shit. Like I was saying, my head is where I store all my gold. Ah, shit, now I got coin grab on my hands. Mr. Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke? What do you mean, Zeal? I'm telling you, there's coins in my head. A whole bunch of gold coins. A few doubloons. A couple galleons. Nothing, honest Gov, nothing. I was just thinking. If he waves his arms around, like that much more, it'll open up the wound again, that's all. What wound? Well, he took the bullet, of course. It was only 2 days ago. It ain't gonna be healed up yet. So I was, well, you know, I was worrying for him, and... Oh, else bells. Mr. Graydon, did you hear that? What? Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm. My lord?
Yes, Mr. Graydon.
I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. No, Vina, you can't do that. You can't shake the coins out of my head. How are you gonna do that, huh? I'll just do this. I'll just flatten my ears a lot, and then they'll be closed, and you won't be able to get them out. Just like this. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. We all know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole in the wall, that person was likely hit in the upper arm or thereabouts. Perhaps you'd allow a court official to examine your arm, sir? The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand, as if in pain. No, I refuse. You have shown no evidence whatsoever that links me to these common thieves. Accordingly, I am not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved in all of this. I've never had anything to do with the pawnbrokery where this fellow was killed whatsoever. I take offense at the insinuation that I was in any way involved.
You claim to have had nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery.
My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Grayson's formal testimony.
Very well, counsel. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon.
Bottom line is, I've never had anything to do with the pawnbroking establishment where the man was killed. Now this we know is bullshit! If you'd be so kind as to, let me see. Wait a minute, no. Where's the picture? We had a picture of him doing, like, at the thing. Where'd that go? Where'd that picture go? Why is that picture not in the record?
Hold it!
Never had anything to do with it. You forget that I was there, Mr. Graydon, on the very afternoon of the incident. Obviously, I am not a complete stranger to the pawnbrokers. I'm currently on the lookout for an armchair to finish my study. No, you were there to redeem an article. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Excuse me.
Gray, please look for a wife. Mabel, are you saying you're trying to volunteer? Do you have something to add, Inspector? Come again, sunshine. You were there too, in fact, weren't you, Inspector? That afternoon. Mabel just like making grabby hands at Grayson, and then again at Zykes, and then at Grayson, and then at Zykes. Just back and forth. Can't decide which one. So, you know, obviously she chooses both. I mean, that's a given. Gregson. Well, yes, I do remember meeting yourself and the pawnbrokers that afternoon. You, your young Japanese assistant, and the accused were all present, as I recall. And at that time, this witness, Mr. Graydon, was trying to acquire a particular article. Well now. I'm afraid I don't remember too clearly. What? But you must! You know, Vina has a very strong point there. I'm not gonna lie and pretend I remember something that I don't. What's going on here? Rexy showed us a picture before, didn't he? You know, from the cameras that Hurley installed in Windibank's. Yes, of course.
Indeed, and the gentleman picture bears a striking resemblance to the witness, I must say.
Exactly, which proves that Mr. Graydon was in the shop on the afternoon in question. At no point have I denied that fact. I merely entered the shop to peruse the articles on sale and have a word with the broker. Nothing more. This makes no sense. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks. Why would Gregson be trying to avoid giving testimony about what happened? That's all he's going to say on the matter, is it? What do you think, Bruno? I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has of giving himself away. The complete opposite of Hurley, then. He seems to think that the more he says, the better. Well, at least I managed to prise a little more information from these witnesses' lips. Well, thanks to the Skulkin brothers. Yes! They were the key to it after all. So he says he had nothing to do with Windibank's. Well, we know that's not true. Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look through the court record. Good idea. You never know what tiny scrap of information could become a valuable weapon. Let me see. What we got here? Right, this here bullet, which I've already inspected. Maybe I could examine this a little bit more closely, right? There's a hole here in the back. It doesn't look like much of a bullet hole, but clearly something's ripped through the leather with great force. Something must have pierced it somehow to leave this hole behind. Yes, it looks that way. Mr. Sholmes and his pal both took a beating, didn't they? This file has been smashed to pieces. Presumably, this is where the bullet struck. As soon as the bullet hit the chemical in that file, there would have been a really big explosion. A big explosion? Well, Hurley's potions and chemicals are amazingly useful for the investigation work he does, but they're also quite tricky to handle. Safely, at least. They're very dangerous. Oh. I'm sure that when this file broke, the chemical inside would have ignited. Note to self, always walk on the right-hand side of Sholmes in the future. The left is the danger zone. Let's see. Trying to see here. Thank you, Seal. That's a good clip. That's a good clip right there. Wound in the back. Let's see. Pawnbroker and Baker Strip. Single bullet wound in upper half of victim's back. No other visible signs of trauma. Instant death from posterior bullet wound to the heart. The bullet entered the body from the back on a gently rising diagonal trajectory. Damage ticket issued from the pawnbroker by the victim, Mr. Windbank. The blood on it has been identified as Mr. Mason's. There's gotta be... One of these has to have something to do with it, right? Small box, 10 shillings. One gentleman's overcoat. Hold a moment. I think I get it. I think I know. Okay, I have the pieces right now. Photograph taken automatically by a short time before the murder took place, after the murder had taken place. Let's see. This one. This was. Well, it doesn't say when these were picked up, does it? I get what the trick is. So these redemption tickets were written on the backs of these stereoscopic photographs of a cat. If you look real closely at the before and after pictures, and you look like right there. Actually, it might be really hard to see at your resolution, but you can see ever so slightly. If you look down in the corner where the lump of the cat is, it moves back and forth just slightly, just a pixel. Like, if we look there, and then we look here, cat moves just a teeny tiny bit, right? I think anyway. And I think that's the thing here, right? I gotta figure out how I present that as evidence. I'm gonna have to blindly guess, but I get the idea that he swapped his ticket out that was on the desk with the nearly identical ticket for something else. Maybe. Possibly? Let me see here. So that was the box, right? This was for the overcoat.
Objection!
No, that's not it. That ain't it. Okay, so something else. Oops. I didn't mean to. I didn't. Come on, skip. Let's go. I have a general idea of what I'm supposed to do here. These thugs breaking the night in the river. There's gotta be something to present to this line here.
Objection!
Oh, okay, it is this, yeah. Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Why, is it supposed to mean something? This disc was, until the day of his murder, in pawn in Mr. Windibank's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try and take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course. Wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? As I have reiterated numerous times now, you are mistaken. That was not me. I've never seen that disc before in my life. It may have escaped your notice, but there is a small smear of blood on the disc.
Ah, yes, resulting from an abrasion of the thumb, perhaps.
That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. The skirmish to acquire the disc. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of that skirmish in the form of this smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also, in the form of a scratch.
Good gracious! Indeed it must!
Mr. Graydon, you refused to allow a court officer to examine your arm before. You're now going to refuse us to allow to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt that it bears a small scratch consistent with the smear of blood on this disc. Well. It would seem I underestimated you.
What? What is the meaning of this?
So you admit it now. You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take the disc from the defendant.
Order! Order! Well, Mr. Graydon?
It would appear there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not attempt to take the disc as you put it. No, quite the reverse. What are you trying to say? It's really quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of pawn? What? It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about this disc now. As you wish. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing to do whatsoever. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. Yeah, he likes to do them little dances where he like wiggles around, and he goes, he wiggles around and he goes like woo woo, like that. There's a note on the disc saying, "For McGilded, but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night."
Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGilded, you say?
Oops, I was accidentally holding down the mouse button.
McGilded, you say? The famous London philanthropist who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly messy murder?
Yes, my lord. The one and the same.
Good lord, Mr. Graydon! Are you saying that Mr. McGilded and yourself were acquainted?
Yes, that's correct.
Order! Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered in my courtroom again.
According to what Gina told us, this disc was placed in pawn on that fateful night 2 months ago. Mr. McGilded himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windibank's. It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming the disc belongs to him then, isn't it? In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windibank's in order to get his hands on McGilded's disc for some reason.
Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, please.
Let's see. Press this one. That's a very suspicious statement. Why does it say for McGilded if it's yours? Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer such as myself commands a fine salary.
You are certainly exquisitely dressed, sir.
So you can see, I have little need to make use of the services provided by the pawnbrokery trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties having misplaced my purse while on an errand, which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question. You claim that was your overcoat? Obviously, and in my haste, I clean forgot that the music box disc was in the pocket. And yet there is a note on it that reads, for McGilded. I'm a collector of rare and unusual box music. I first met Mr. McGilded at a gentleman's club in the city, and was interested to discover that he shared my penchant in that area.
So, the disc in question?
It's a pre-production sample. I promised to let Mr. McGilded hear it. But then you forgot that it was in the pocket of the overcoat you were forced to pawn. Yes, exactly. Gina didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she? No, because Mr. McGilded had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury. Oh dear, this is complicated, isn't it? Let's leave it alone for the time being.
Hold it!
Stolen from you, huh? Well, I am a fan of theft, of course. So you're saying that Miss Lestrade lifted the ticket from your pocket or bag? That's right. Despite being mindful of danger when walking in the insalubrious areas her kind frequent, Miss Lestrade did no such thing. Well, of course you would take that stance, but the girl is a regular offender. You came to the pawnbrokery that day prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her. That's what brought you to Windibank's. To get your hands on Mr. McGilded's disc.
Objection!
My learned friend is a veritable font of nonsense. Nonsense?
I concur with the prosecution. Counsel, you will refrain from conjecturing in this way, is that clear?
Yes, my lord. And I will continue with my testimony for what possible use it can be. In order to explain my situation and redeem my article.
Hold it!
Just press everything, why not? Have you ever been to Windibank's before? Only once for the purposes of pawning something. But like many, I enjoy browsing in such establishments. So when you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her. Is that correct? Yes, that's right. I didn't notice at first, of course. Such is the art of the pick purse. But when I did, I headed to the pawnbrokery at once, in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was rightfully mine in the first place. He can say what he likes because he knows we have no evidence to contradict him on this.
Hold it!
Yes, it was taken by Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently the police are collecting anything that has a connection to Mr. McGilded as evidence.
Excuse me!
You got something to say? Is something wrong, Inspector? What do you mean? The last remark Mr. Graydon made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way. No, it didn't. It's nothing. Leave it alone. Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGilded's possessions? I can't tell you something like that, Sunshine! What is it, Inspector? Investigative secrets. Yes, exactly. You should all know about that. Magnus McGilded, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago. A man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life, yet he had a dark side, too. Where are you going with this, Van Zykes? I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they? That's enough. Coppers like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about. That's all you need to know. Duties conferred by Lord Strongheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector. The bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're gonna need Lord Strongheart's paw print first. What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Van Zykes here. God, yeah, I see the fish and chips and I'm like, potato. Fries. I mean, I had tater tots with my burger tonight, so I want, and even now I still want more.
Hold it!
Press this a bit. Actually, let me check the history real quick. Perhaps you'd see something of value among the forfeited items. No, not at all. Oh. A valuer was brought in by the police to assess everything in the shop. Without exception, every article on the shelves was common or garden bric-a-brac. In that case, it's clear that you broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGilded's disc. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I had wanted to recover the disc, you may recall that it had been seized by the police that afternoon. I was no more in the shop that night. It was no more in the shop that night than I. As I keep saying, I simply had no reason to break in. There was nothing of McGilded's left in the shop that night. Nothing this man might have been after. I wonder if that's really true. You know, if you have some evidence, then let him have it. Alright, so we just need to prove that there was something else of McGilded's in that storeroom. Let's see. What else was there that could have been McGilded's? He would want the ticket back, maybe? Possibly, that's what he wanted? He wanted the ticket back? I don't know. Let me see here. This would be the place to present evidence. This wouldn't be it. This is it. Gentleman's overthrow, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing else that I can see here that would belong to McGilded that he would want back. I feel like it has to be this one, right?
Objection!
Damn it! What are tater tots again? They're like, how do you describe tater tots? They're like little kind of like fluffy potato nuggets. They're like French fries, but they're very short and very thick. They're like little tiny cylinders. That is the best way I can describe them. Google images might help. I don't know. It's hard to like put that into words. Like, what are tater tots? They're like fries, but not quite. They're like thicker and shorter and rounder. Like crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside. They're very good. You see here. Oh, wait, that's right. She still had the overcoat.
Objection!
Oh, damn it. I don't... Oh, boy. Oh, shit. The police are after anyone behind me McDonald as well as discount in custody that day. I'm sure I don't know what it is. Something that belonged to McGilded. I was gonna say, it would be the coat, right? That Gina had? This picture doesn't work. I don't think this is gonna give us anything. Man, I really don't know. What could it have been? It's not this, right? No. I'm really stuck here, I'll be honest. I don't... It's something... This is the first time I've had to, like, just blindly guess.
Objection!
Wait, that's the right answer? What? Huh? Alright, hang on. I'm reloading the save real quick. Just so I can get those, like, strikes back so I don't have to, like, reload after one wrong answer. Why is it this one? This is the one for... Wasn't this for Sholmes? Or was it not for Sholmes? I thought this was Sholmes's. The box with the manuscript in it.
Objection!
This disc was deposited at Windibanks on Magnus McGilded's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself.
Objection!
Conjecture again, and in any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbrokery again that
Objection!
night. Sorry, my learned friend, but that's not true. What? Mr. McGilded had another article in pawn at Windibanks. As this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. Ah. There were 2 articles belonging to Mr. McGilded in Windibank's pawnbrokery, and the reason you broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one, together with your 2 accomplices, the Skulkin brothers.
Ugh. This is the second ticket, is it?
What had the man deposited? The article description reads, 1 small box.
Rather vague description, it seems to me.
Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forfeited, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point.
Indeed. The witness makes a solid argument.
So that means that for some reason, this Graydon fellow needed the small box that very night, does it?
Objection!
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord.
Would you be a little less cryptic, Lord Van Zykes?
I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box was taken from Windibank's pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. What?
Good gracious!
Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, if you please.
Yes, sir.
What prints?
These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras.
Ah, Hurley's red-handed recorders again. As previously explained using this plan of the shop layout. The victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windibank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which the articles were placed for sale once forfeited.
According to the information on this ticket, McGilded's small box had been forfeited already. 2 days before the incident, at 9 p.m. on the 13th of April to be precise, which means it would have been on the shelves of forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. That's at 11 p.m. on the 15th of April.
The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear.
And then here we have another print. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident.
I see, so we have 2 pictures to compare. I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold.
So we just gotta look for a small box that's been nudged just slightly.
Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache.
Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we consider theft as one possible motive in this case. We explore the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life.
So your men have already compared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector?
Yes, sir. We counted every single item in each of these 2 photographic prints. The arch conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both. In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery on the night in question, and my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy.
Ugh. Don't believe it. I could have just shown that he'd stolen McGilded's pawn box. Might have been able to break him down at last. Well, no, he didn't steal the box. He just stole what was in the box. That was what was important. And we're going to prove that by using the stereoscope again. And one of the little boxes is going to pop out because it's ever so slightly nudged out of the way. And that's how we'll know it's been tampered with. I've been thinking. I wonder if these 2 photographs really are exactly the same. What?
So, Counsel, in light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that, in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. You accept the prosecution's assertion?
I don't know. point out a discrepancy. I wasn't sure at first, but there's a clear discrepancy between these two prints. What?
You must identify the location in question for the court, Counsel. Indicate the precise location of the discrepancy of which you speak.
Let me see here. Let's see here. We need to find a box that's like just out of place, right? It's gotta be... Oh, I see it.
Take that!
Granted, these two prints are almost identical. However, there is one minor discrepancy between them. What? When you view the two pictures stereoscopically, a single area stands out as being different. The location of the small box. Wait. Unbelievable. He grabbed his fish so much, they're almost mashed potatoes now. Yeah, they really are. I love this. This is my favorite right here.
By Jove, you're right. How extraordinary.
What this tells us is very simple. Mr. McGilden's small box was indeed not stolen from Windibanks on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves.
Are you suggesting that the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGilden is in fact...
Yes, the very same small box I just identified in those photographic prints.
Objection!
Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on the shelf. Nothing was stolen, which means quite simply that nothing has changed. That may be true, but... Alright, McGilden's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things? It does. Whatever was inside the box was stolen! Come on now! I believe that this changes everything about the case. How can it possibly be? The crucial point is the fact that what was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider that what might have been inside that box. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves at Windibanks as we speak.
Objection!
That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial.
The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zykes. Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question and bring it back here for further examination.
Man, that bailiff's doing the rounds, man. Like he's getting his cardio today. Look at all these men staring at each other.
We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth.
To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Disappointing.
I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zykes.
This is nothing but a smoke screen. A Nipponese specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say? My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning, that this witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGilden from the pawnbrokery.
Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place. Exactly. It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such a commonplace property. If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGilded perished 2 months ago, immediately after the conclusion of his trial. A trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which it was established that he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend and his most insightful defense. The articles of this upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets, and a small box. I assure you, I wouldn't accept even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me. You know, that does make a rather lot of sense. It's not as if it was gilded jewels, was it? But goodness knows, Mr. McGilded was rich enough.
Well, you can't deposit cash at a pawnbroker. Quite certain at that.
I want a toast redeem. I want a cake redeem. My God. Celexa! God damn it. You have a cake redeem. It's 50K. Start saving. Or wait, no, is it 25? It's 25K. It's 25K. Start saving. You already have a cake redeem. It's like 2 cakes. You get 2 cakes. Come on. Jesus Christ. You people are gluttons.
The judge's argument is undeniably compelling.
It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument. To explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizen could have.
Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case?
Well, what's the matter, Runo? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence. Yes, of course. You and I both know that. We know McGilded's true character. We know the disc is significant even if we don't know why. We explain all that to the court at this point. We'll have to acknowledge that McGilded's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. The defense's argument was flawed, based on false information. Oh no! And that would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury. But Ginny, could it be that Van Zykes knows? Is that why he's doing this now? He has anticipated everything. But maybe this could be a great opportunity for us. Sorry? What do you mean, Iris? Well, what is it that you always say, Runo? Sooner or later, the truth comes out. Every time. Alright, the exact significance of the things that McGilded deposited with Mr. Windibank is something that only Gina can explain to the court. If I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chances of winning this case. What's the right thing to do here? I mean, we gotta have Gina testify. It's like Iris said, the truth comes out every time. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal.
Oh, what proposal, counsel?
While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilded's small box, I would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand.
The defendant? To what end?
It's to do with the various articles deposited at Windibanks by Mr. McGilded, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information relating to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It will prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Well, well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it will have on the accused's standing, and indeed your own.
I have.
Lord Van Sykes, would you care to explain that last remark?
The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself.
Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. You witnesses currently in the stand may step down until further notice.
Then I shall bid you good day. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies. As you wish. All right then, Gina, it's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here. Good luck, Runo. Let me get a little sippy of water here. That white peacock is actually very classy. He is. He's very fancy. The articles that Mr. McGilded had deposited in Windbank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago.
Yes, I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well.
That's right, my lord. Her testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilded. The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. Stretch? Ah, that's a good idea, actually. Let me just... There we go. That was a good idea. Got a few pops out of my spine there. And now, here we all are again, the same players in that trial, facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponese friend. Allow me to recap, what was that? The events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilded. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. But as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged. That the murder, in fact, took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body then being dropped through the skylight into the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilded died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on, as indeed does the omnibus murder itself.
Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor this small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings.
Miss Lestrade, would you tell the court now, please, what really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean? I don't know what you mean. I already said all what I know. And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade, this is extremely important. But... Remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose. Ginny, don't listen to him! Please, you have to trust Runo now. Iris? We're on your side! Alright then. I'll talk. It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it.
I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGilder's pawned articles and that extraordinary case of the omnibus harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements.
This is it then. Everything's going to come out. Like Van Zyke said, this could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears. But as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. Truth is, that Brickmaker Cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from over me head, and that pair on the roof went off to call the slops. That's when McGill slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn. God damn it. That's when McGill slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop roundabout. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard.
Good grief, this is outrageous! What you've just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago.
As you say, my lord.
And there's every chance I may have adjudicated in error in McGilded's trial. It sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes.
Without a doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial, of this witness, and of my learned friends are entirely inexcusable.
I don't believe it.
The whole trial was a farce. It was all lies.
That McGilded fellow was rotten to the core, just like that pickpocket.
Don't forget that lawyer from the East. They were all in on it together. You're wrong, the lot of you. Mr. Naruto, the lawyer there, he didn't know nothing about it.
Humbug.
I don't think so. Are we really expected to believe that?
He really stitched everyone up, didn't he? What an operation to get the man off scot-free.
Unforgivable. Stop. The lies have to stop. Stop. Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it is imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the true significance of McGilded's pawned articles must be brought to light. Very well, my learned student friend. Given the depths of calamity you have just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing.
Words fail me. This situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord. Blimey, Mr. Naruhodo.
Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Actually, this wouldn't be a cross-examination. This would be a direct examination, because it's my witness.
Hold it!
I guess you just gotta press all of them. And you were hiding in the cabin at the time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats? Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all.
Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claimed Mr. McGilded was the sole passenger, did you not?
False testimony, my lord. That's what he told me I had to say. But it's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilded and the victim acquaintances? I don't know. Well, I did hear him talking a lot. What were they talking about? Well, I couldn't hear too well, but if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying.
Perhaps business dealings of some kind.
Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. It started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe. And then all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone keeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all.
I believe you let out an involuntary scream.
Yeah, that's what gave me away.
Hold it!
Was the disc you saw this disc? Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove lying on the floor.
Could this disc have belonged to the victim, perhaps?
I don't know, but McGilded picked it up pretty smartish. And then he sat with the cove with the knife in his belly up on the seat. What did he say to you at that time? He told me not to say a word about what I'd seen. I heard to no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I'd get stuck with that knife too. Then he started asking me a load of questions, like what my name was and where I lived and that. He asked me about being a diver too. But after a while, what happened in the carriage was noticed. Yeah, that's right. First there was a kind of rapping noise.
Hold it!
There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe. That's right. I must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with the knife in his guts. When I screamed, the driver pulled up the horses and McGilded got me out of sight.
Out of sight? Where?
Back onto the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to a halt, the two coves from the roof ran off to fetch the slops. If they immediately left to fetch the police, it would appear they were entirely unrelated to the incident. So that left McGilded, the driver, and you still at the scene. Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cabin door open and a voice from outside.
The driver, yes. He also testified in the trial, I believe. A fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves.
What did McGilded and the driver say to each other? I don't know what happened, and stuff like that mainly.
Hold it!
That pawn shop obviously being Windibank's on Baker Street.
Just a moment, Counsel. Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well?
Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in the stand.
Indeed, Lord Van Zykes.
McGilded took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up, all careful-like, before handing it over. When I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it, it's got to be worth a few bob. Yes, Gina was sure the disc must be worth more than Mr. Windibank was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery. The driver looked pretty happy when McGilded flashed some brass in his face. He went running off at a lick. And the bog trotter called to me and told me to come out from the drag's cabin. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one.
Hold it!
Threatened you how exactly? Told me I'd only be able to scarper if I did exactly what he'd said. Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago. Their slang is so funny you can't take it seriously. That's fair. That's very true. British slang is a lot of fun. Yeah, that's it. There was one other thing he said. Which was... He told me I have to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop. Make sure not to lose it.
The ticket? Well, I never.
Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I had to go to the pawn shop and pay the money to keep it in lug. Stop it from being forfeited. He left me with some brass to pay for it.
But really? Why on earth would Mr. McGilded have done such a thing? Depositing his overcoat with a pawnbroker before the arrival of the police makes no sense at all.
There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGilded had the driver deposit at Windibank's was something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important that he needed to hide at all costs. Anyway, after that, he let me go. So I legged it before the coppers showed up. Well done, Gina. Can't have been easy to tell the truth like that. She just really put her faith in you, Runo. Yes, and to thank her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over. So I need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible. It's time to really go for it. Press her on every statement. I suppose I should. Oh, and another thing. What's that? Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange that they've been whispering to each other the entire time? Yes, that is strange. Looks like they're having a secret discussion about something. I'm not sure I'm completely comfortable with that. I wonder if there's anything I can do about it. Let's see. Let's see this one. This was 15th of February, day of the murder. 13th of February, 2 days beforehand. Let's see.
Hold it! Excuse me.
Is there something you'd like to share with the court, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Graydon? Inspector! Mr. Graydon! What? Blimey, you're trying to give me a heart attack? We've been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about? Discussion? With this fella? Pull the other one, sunshine. Think I've got anything to talk about with a shady gent like this? And I have nothing to say to this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that disc which was rightfully mine. They've clearly been talking the entire time I've been cross-examining Gina. It's as if they've been negotiating.
Thank you, Mr. Lestrade. Thank you, Counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what exactly transpired on the omnibus.
It would appear that on that night 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. A negotiation concerning this disc. However, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, McGilded took what he wanted by force, at the expense of the other man's life. Which proves my point. This is clearly extremely valuable in some way. I don't understand why as yet. And 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, McGilded's coat and its contents were due to be forfeited. I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the cove died right after his trial. I knew that. So you decided you would try and claim the articles as your own. Well, why not, eh? They were only going to be forfeited. Why shouldn't I have gotten? Anyway, you can't blame me for thinking about it. Thinking ain't no crime.
Miss Lestrade, it would appear Mr. McGilded was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be?
Yeah? I ain't got a clue. But I reckon it must have been worth a fair bit of brass. He was probably going to sell it. And you can't blame me for thinking that. Thinking ain't no crime.
My lord!
Oh, the evidence your lordship... The evidence your lordship requested has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir. Here we go. Let's check that box, baby. A mysterious little box deposited by McGilded 2 months ago. There's no doubt in my mind that it's a key piece in this far-reaching puzzle. Oh, to be continued. Alright, it's been 3.5 hours. It's almost 11 o'clock for me. So I am going to call this here, I think. Once again, I'd like to thank all y'all for joining me. As always. Always appreciate having y'all here. Let's see. The next stream will be on Friday. And what will we be doing again? Oh, right. I believe I said I'm going to start, The Forgotten City, which seems really cool. The Forgotten City is like a, what is it? It's a former Skyrim mod, actually. It was a Skyrim mod that it was a completely new game as a mod built into Skyrim, which is interesting. Can you see the full model? Sure. Hang on. Let me do this. Hang on. Let me zoom myself out a little bit. Like this. There you go. Hello? It's me. Hello. Hi. But yeah, it's oh, thank you, Selexa, for the Discord. Yeah, if you haven't joined the Discord yet, feel free to do that. We got people there that you can talk to if you ain't in there yet. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Apparently, it's a time loop mystery sort of deal, which sounds really cool, and I'm really excited about that. So I really wanna do that. It's got like overwhelmingly positive reviews too. So it's it was a Skyrim mod that was its own game, and it got turned into a real game that is now on Steam. So I'm excited to try that. Like, people seem to think it's really, really good. Anyway, we're gonna raid my good friend Ryusei. Just shut up, Shia. I have the long leggy, all right? I have the very long leggy. I'm quite tall, I'll have you know. Bully Alistair. Just shut up. All right, I still need to make that raid command, don't I? There we go. Thank you, Selexa. Right there. Well, hang on. It's rogue raid. It's a rogue raid. It's the other one. You got the wrong one. You done went and booched it, Selexa. How could you do this to me? Taller than you, maybe? Possibly. I don't know if I'm taller than Ryusei, though. I don't know. Okay, I never bothered to put a measuring stick next to my next to my model. I'm assuming it's like, I don't know, 5'9", 5'10". I don't fucking know. Yeah, Mabel, big talk, Mabel. You goddamn short stack. Anyway, we're rating Ryusei now. Everybody be sure to say, rogue raid right there. Anyway, 10 seconds. Take care, all y'all, and I will see you on Friday. Peace.